very good morning. You're watching the Breakfast News on Rajya Sabha television. Lots making news this morning. I'm Aishwarya Kapoor and here are the headlines. US and allies, the UK and France launch airstrikes on Syria. Huge blasts heard in capital Damascus as chemical weapon sites targeted. Donald Trump warns Russia not to continue down a dark path. UK says strikes not about regime change. Nation marks the 127th birth anniversary of Dr. B.R. Ambedkar. Central government to begin its massive rural outreach program, Gram Swaraj Abhiyan, in over 20,000 villages. Prime Minister says Congress work to erase Ambedkar's legacy. Prime Minister Modi to become first Prime Minister to visit Naxal-hit district of Bijapur in Chhattisgarh to launch a first of 1.5 lakh health centres under government's ambitious Ayushman Bharat scheme today. ₹18,000 crore investment plan this fiscal for new defence projects, says the DRDO. Next generation lighter BrahMos missiles to be developed. 4-day Defence Expo concludes in Tamil Nadu today. And Rajya Sabha MP and boxer MC Mary Kom ensures India adds another gold to its kitty in the Commonwealth Games. Manika Batra plays a game of her life, enters a women's table tennis singles final. Will fight for gold to take India's tally above 18. The biggest story this morning, US, UK and France have launched strikes on Syria in response to an alleged chemical attack on the Syrian town of Douma last week. Explosions have been reported in the Syrian capital Damascus. Well, the strikes come after US President Donald Trump announced from the White House diplomatic room that he had ordered the US armed forces to launch precision strikes on targets associated with the chemical weapon capacities of a Syrian dictator Bashar al-Assad. Now, reports say that US aircrafts and ships have been used in the attack. Donald Trump said that the strikes were in coordination with France and the UK, adding that the purpose of the campaign is to establish a strong deterrent against the production, spread and use of chemical weapons. UK Prime Minister Theresa May confirmed that the British Army was also involved, saying that there was no practicable alternative to the use of force. But she also added that the strikes were not about regime change. While the US said that it had proof that the Syrian government carried out the recent chemical weapons attack in Douma, Russia says that the chemical attack was fake.
The United States Armed Forces to launch precision strikes on targets associated with the chemical weapons capabilities of Syrian dictator Bashar al-Assad. A combined operation with the armed forces of France and the United Kingdom is now underway. We thank them both.
All right, my colleague Akhilesh Suman is now joining us on the phone line for more on this. Akhilesh, Donald Trump has ordered strikes on Syria over the suspected chemical weapons attack. How do you look at this development? Because these strikes are definitely risking pulling the US deeper into the Syria crisis, the war, the multi, there have been number of players already involved with the Syria war, and it also marks deep escalation between the tension between Russia and the US.
Actually, Aishwarya, it was very much expected that something is going to come from the US side, because you know that the use of chemical weapons is one of the worst kind of attacks against a civilian by any design. And if you remember that when Saddam Hussein was in power, he had used chemical weapons against his own current population, and that was the beginning of his fall in the whole international eye. And now you are seeing the Syria. In 2013, if you remember that President Putin of Russia had assured the whole world that he will dwell upon Syrian regime to destroy all chemical weapons, but I think that this was not destroyed. And when we were talking to External Affairs Ministry spokesperson day before yesterday, he was telling that India Syria is waiting for evidence that what is coming, and now America is telling that evidence has come and they have targeted. So it is giving a whole new signal about the world politics when you see that we were thinking that Trump and Theresa May is not in good terms, but now you see that this is one of the best terms. So you can understand that when British, French and US forces are attacking, making a precision strike against the chemical weapons factory and also the research center. So it is indication that the three forces are going to come together in the future also if certain things that has been committed to the United Nations and it is not being obeyed by certain forces in the world. That's why.
Absolutely. And Akhilesh, would also like to understand from you, how will it really change equations as far as the Syria war is concerned? Because it is not only the US, but UK and France are also involved now. And obviously that confrontation with Russia and Iran, both of whom have military forces in Syria in support of Mr. Assad there, that how is now this going to play out within Syria now?
Yeah, I am seeing that it is like post Junior 2 it is happening. What has happened, the US that time began from Afghanistan and then it went to Iraq and Saddam Hussein regime was dismantled. So I think that the Syrian government has to make a very serious thinking about the internal affairs because see, the type of chemical weapons that is being used against its own civilians is very, very brutal assault on any population. And this is very sensitive issue to any democracy in the world. And you know that this new equation that is coming, this is very much indicating that the rogue regime should understand that they should not use certain force against the civilians and they should also democratize the whole system. So US had been talking to via different ways, and when the day before yesterday when Mr. Trump said that our missiles are going, I think there was a red herring and some statement was expected from Syrian regime and also the Russians, but no one made any assuring statement. So I think that this is a very decisive decision, and 3 members of the UN Security Council, permanent members, have come together, and China is just sitting aside, just keeping silent. China didn't speak anything. Russia, though, had told that US should refrain from taking any action, but now Russian statement is also being awaited. So I think it is going to be very interesting debate in the United Nations Security Council itself that how to tackle Syria, because people were asking that some space should be given to those forces who are asking for democratization of the country. But the other side is also true that the forces like ISIS has grown up. So the world has to find a solution that you have to choose for democracy, not for ISIS, and also not for regime that is not giving a space for democracy. So it is, I think, a warning signal for the Syrian regime at this point of time.
Absolutely. And remember, these strikes are coming after the United Nations head had yesterday said that the Cold War is back. And of course, we have to wait and watch how this now really plays out at the international forum. Thank you so much, Akhilesh, for all those updates there. And back home, the nation is marking the 127th birth anniversary of Dr. B.R. Ambedkar today, and the anniversary is being marked as National Social Justice Day. President, Vice President, Prime Minister, Lok Sabha Speaker, Union Ministers and other dignitaries will be paying floral tributes at a function being organized at Parliament House lawns today. And later in the evening, a function will also be held in the Central Hall of Parliament House. President Ram Nath Kovind later will visit Mahau in Madhya Pradesh, the birthplace of Dr. B.R. Ambedkar, to pay homage. And Prime Minister Narendra Modi will launch the first of the 1.5 lakh wellness centres under the government's ambitious Ayushman Bharat program today. And the launch will take place in the Naxal-affected Bijapur district in Chhattisgarh, marking the first visit by any Prime Minister to the district. Bijapur, along with the Bahraich in Uttar Pradesh and Mewat in Rajasthan, were among the 115 aspirational districts which have shown noteworthy achievements in the last 3 months. The aspirational district program is an innovation in governance that covers about 15% of India's population and is reflective of the priority of the government to provide for the poorest of the poor. Prime Minister Modi had launched the transformation of aspirational districts program in January. The Ayushman Bharat has a twin mission. First, creating a network of health and wellness centers to deliver comprehensive primary health care close to the community. And second, providing insurance cover to 40% of India's population that is most deprived for secondary and tertiary care, including, for instance, hospitalization costs. Prime Minister Modi will also interact with the champions of change, including villagers and officials of the district administration. Meanwhile, security has been tightened ahead of the Prime Minister's visit to the district. And in a bid to reach out to the poor rural households, Prime Minister Modi has announced the Gram Swaraj Abhiyan that will be launched today. The 8-phased Abhiyan will begin with Prime Minister Narendra Modi launching the campaign from Bijapur in Chhattisgarh. It will go on till 5th of May. Now, this Abhiyan is being undertaken for spreading awareness about government welfare schemes and other people-centric initiatives to poor households. The idea is to reach out to the poor in the 21,000 most backward villages in the country. The Prime Minister spelled out several programs during the period, with the April 18th being observed as the Swachh Bharat Festival. 20th, 24th and 28th of April will be observed as Ujjwala Divas, Panchayati Raj Divas and Gram Shakti Divas respectively, to highlight various government schemes. Prime Minister also said that he will interact with the BJP leaders on 22nd of April through a video conference. And 30th of April, 2nd of May and 5th of May will be dedicated to highlighting various schemes aimed at benefiting farmers and the poor. And Prime Minister Narendra Modi on Friday said the government will not allow any dilution of the SC/ST Atrocities Act. The Prime Minister was speaking at a function in New Delhi after dedicating the Dr. B.R. Ambedkar National Memorial to the nation. Here are the details.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi has said that the government will not allow dilution of the Scheduled Castes and Scheduled Tribes Prevention of Atrocities Act. Countering opposition's charge on the issue, the Prime Minister said that it is his government that has strengthened the act to prevent atrocities against Dalits.
अपने दलित भाई बहनों, पिछड़ों, आदिवासियों के सम्मान के लिए, उनके अधिकार के लिए हमारी सरकार पूरी तरह प्रतिबद्ध है। SC/ST पर अत्याचार से जुड़े मामलों की तेज सुनवाई के लिए स्पेशल कोर्ट्स का गठन किया जा रहा है। सरकार ने पिछड़ी जातियों के सब कैटेगरी के लिए कमीशन के गठन का निर्णय भी किया है।
The Prime Minister was speaking at a function in Delhi after dedicating the Dr. Ambedkar National Memorial to the nation on Friday. The Prime Minister elaborated that special courts are being set up for urgent hearing of cases involving atrocities on SCs and STs. He accused the Congress of spreading rumours about scrapping of reservations and weakening of the SC/ST Act. The Prime Minister said that the present government has given importance to social justice and the right to equality to all in every plan and project. The Prime Minister hit out at the Congress, alleging that it used all its power to erase the legacy of Ambedkar from India's history. The foundation stone for the memorial was laid by the Prime Minister in 2016. It is dedicated to the life and contributions of Dr. Ambedkar, the principal architect of the Constitution. The memorial of Baba Saheb Ambedkar has been given the shape of a book. On the occasion, Union Ministers including Thawar Chand Gehlot, Dr. Harshvardhan and Ram Vilas Paswan were also present. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
We'll take a very short break here. We'll be back with more news. Stay tuned.
The India-based Neutrino Observatory is basically going to look at neutrinos. The flagship experiment there that we are planning is based on the so-called iron calorimetric detector to measure atmospheric neutrinos. Since we are looking at new knowledge to do things in ways that will involve companies, which will involve industry, so it will benefit industry. This will also excite young students to come into science which is, I think, good for everybody.
Watch Eureka with Dr. V.M. Datar, Senior Professor INOCEL, TIFR Mumbai, Saturday 4 p.m. and Sunday 12 noon, only on Rajya Sabha television.
Welcome back after the break. Prime Minister Narendra Modi has said that those guilty of crimes against women will not be spared and that justice will be delivered. He was speaking in the backdrop of two incidents of rape, one in Kathua in Jammu and Kashmir and one in Unnao in Uttar Pradesh. Meanwhile, the Supreme Court took suo motu cognizance in the Kathua case and sent notices to lawyers' associations who tried to prevent the girl's family from getting legal representation. And the two ministers who allegedly came out in support of the accused in Jammu and Kashmir have resigned.
In an apparent reference to the recent rape cases in both Unnao and Kathua, Prime Minister Narendra Modi on Friday said those who commit crimes against women will not be spared. He assured that the victims will get justice.
देश के किसी भी राज्य में, किसी भी क्षेत्र में होने वाली ऐसी वारदातें हमारी मानवीय संवेदनाओं को झकझोर देती है। मैं देश को विश्वास दिलाना चाहता हूं कि कोई अपराधी बचेगा नहीं, न्याय होगा और पूरा होगा। उन बेटियों के साथ जो जुल्म हुआ है, उन बेटियों को न्याय मिल के रहेगा।
The Supreme Court on Friday took suo motu cognizance of the conduct of lawyers in the Kathua rape case. The apex court sent a notice to the Bar Council of Jammu and Kashmir for preventing the filing of a charge sheet against the rape accused. The court also sent notices to the Kathua District Bar Association and the High Court Bar Association at Jammu for opposing the filing of the charge sheet in the case and also for obstructing a lawyer from representing the victim's family. The Supreme Court has sought responses by April 19th.
जो बार काउंसिल है जम्मू कश्मीर का, वो हाई कोर्ट में ही निहित है उसका पावर। तो चूंकि बार काउंसिल जम्मू कश्मीर का कुछ नहीं किया अभी तक, इसलिए बार काउंसिल ऑफ इंडिया को इसमें कुछ करना है। हम संडे को अपनी मीटिंग कर रहे हैं, संडे के बाद हम इसमें डायरेक्ट एक्शन लेंगे।
The Delhi High Court issued notices to some media groups for disclosing the identity of the Kathua gang rape victim. It also sought a response from the National Commission for Protection of Child Rights on the issue. The horrific crime against the 8-year-old in Kathua in Jammu and Kashmir has triggered nationwide outrage.
हम उसके साथ ही हैं जी, जो कातिल हैं उनको मारना चाहिए, उनको फांसी करना चाहिए, उनको सजा होनी चाहिए सर।
Two Jammu and Kashmir ministers who allegedly supported the suspects in the case have resigned. Jammu and Kashmir Chief Minister Mehbooba Mufti said the state government will enact a law ensuring death penalty for raping minors. Women and Child Development Minister Maneka Gandhi said her ministry will move a cabinet note on Monday to amend the Protection of Children Against Sexual Offences Act, seeking death penalty for raping a minor below 12 years of age.
जब भी कोई बच्चा का बलात्कार हो, 4 स्टेटों ने अभी भी डेथ पेनल्टी के लिए करा है। हम लोग भी चाहेंगे कि पॉक्सो एक्ट को बदल करके जो 12 साल के बच्चे के नीचे के ऊपर अगर कोई इस तरीके से बलात्कार हो, तो we should ask for the death penalty.
The Congress has announced to carry out candlelight marches in every state to protest against the Kathua and Unnao rape cases.
ये बलात्कार की सैकड़ों घटनाएं हुई हैं, प्रधानमंत्री चुप हैं। प्रधानमंत्री तो एक ही चीज़ जानते हैं, इलेक्शन कैसे लड़ना है और बीजेपी को कैसे जिताना है। बाकी देश भाड़ में जाए, कोई मरे, कोई लिंचिंग किसी का हो, कोई धर्म किसी को काटे, किसी का बलात्कार हो, ये प्राइम मिनिस्टर को इसकी क्या परवाह है?
The minor victim had disappeared from near her home in a village near Kathua in Jammu and Kashmir on January 10th. Her body was found a week later from a nearby woods. The police has filed a main charge sheet against 7 persons and a separate charge sheet against a juvenile in court in Kathua district earlier this week. With inputs from Vipul Chauhan, Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
And in related news, Jammu and Kashmir Chief Minister Mehbooba Mufti has called for a special meeting of all PDP ministers, legislators and senior leaders in Srinagar today. According to reports, the Kathua gang rape and murder case will be the agenda of the meeting. On Thursday, Mehbooba Mufti had said that her government will not allow law to be obstructed and justice will be delivered in the rape and murder case of an 8-year-old girl in Kathua. Meanwhile, a legislative party meeting of the BJP is also scheduled to be held in Jammu today to discuss further course of action. 2 BJP ministers who were at the centre of a storm over their participation in a rally in support of the accused in the Kathua rape and murder case submitted their resignations to the party's state president on Friday evening. Remember, Forest Minister Chaudhry Lal Singh and Industries Minister Chandra Prakash had attended the rally. Opposition, National Conference and the Congress had demanded that Mehbooba Mufti must suspend the two ministers. And now an update on the Unnao rape case, and the CBI on Friday arrested a BJP MLA Kuldeep Singh Sengar, who has been accused in the Unnao rape case after the Allahabad High Court's order. Now, Sengar was questioned by the investigation agency for close to 15 hours. Meanwhile, Yogi Adityanath government has set up a special investigation team into the case.
Accused BJP MLA Kuldeep Singh Sengar was arrested in the Unnao rape case after the High Court directed the CBI to carry out investigation strictly in accordance with law and cancel the bail of the accused who are in custody. It also directed the CBI to file a status report by the 2nd of May.
Monitoring करेगी 2 मई को प्रोग्रेस रिपोर्ट को पेश करेगी. तो आप ये समझ लीजिए कि हम अपने चीफ जस्टिस महोदय के बहुत शुक्रगुजार हैं कि उन्होंने एक इस जघन्य अपराध को 24 घंटे के अंदर, मतलब परसों हमने चिट्ठी दिया और आज फैसला आ गया कि बेल कैंसिलेशन होनी चाहिए कि नहीं, ये सीबीआई तय करेगी. और मेरा मानना ये है कि सीबीआई जरूर उन केसेस में कैंसिलेशन मूव कर देगी.
The CBI recorded the statements of the victim and her family. UP Chief Minister Yogi Adityanath has said that firm action will be taken against the criminals, no matter how influential they may be.
अपराध के मामले में और भ्रष्टाचार के मामले में जीरो टॉलरेंस की नीति पर चलने की जो हमारी प्रारंभ से ही नीति रही है, हमारी सरकार इस मुद्दे पर किसी प्रकार का कोई कॉम्प्रोमाइज नहीं करेगी. अपराधियों से भी, चाहे वो कोई भी हो, कितना बड़ा क्यों न हो, बहुत सख्ती के साथ निपटने का कार्य करेगी.
On the other hand, the National Commission for Women has issued a notice to the leaders on their wrong statements on the issue.
ये एग्जाम्पल है दुनिया के सामने और लोग अपनी कॉन्स्टिट्यूएंसी के सामने ये लीडर कहलाए जाते हैं, तो कम से कम लीडर वाली बात होनी चाहिए उनमें. महिलाओं की जब तक बात आती है वो कोई भी मुंह खोल देता है बिना सोचे समझे, तो दे शुड ओपन देयर माउथ एंड थिंक बिफोर ओपनिंग देयर माउथ.
The CBI has registered 3 separate cases against the 4-time BJP MLA, while 3 different cases have been filed. 6 UP police officials were also dismissed. The cases pertain to the alleged rape, killing of the girl's father, and a case of arms act, which was slapped on her father, in which he was arrested by the local police. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
And the centre's representative to Jammu and Kashmir, Dineshwar Sharma, called on State Governor N.N. Vora on Friday. Governor and Dinesh Sharma held extended discussions regarding the crucial importance of maintaining peace and normalcy in the state, alongside the effective functioning of the administrative apparatus. News from Chennai. On day 3 of the Defence Expo, 7 agreements were signed between Indian and Russian companies on Friday. The deals relate to efforts to replace the Russian armaments used by the Indian Armed Forces with indigenous products.
The third India-Russia Military-Industrial Conference was held on the sidelines of the Defence Expo being held in Chennai, where India and Russia on Friday signed 7 agreements on the availability of spare parts for defence equipment this country had bought from there.
The process started with the Indian side identifying 48 specific items covering the major platforms which could be made in India with Russian cooperation. Once the MOU is signed, after further negotiations, the Indian private company would be entering into providing the end user certificate, which will then be signed by the MOD or the armed forces.
The 5 agreements include one for manufacturing parts of the Arjun Mark II tank. Larsen and Toubro also signed one deal for various programs of the Navy and for future-ready combat vehicles and rockets co-production on Indian territory. The Defence Ministry identified 48 items covering all major platforms which can be made in India with Russian collaboration. The products to get support include helicopters, aircraft and naval systems.
एक साल में ही करीब 5 से 6 एग्रीमेंट्स दोनों कंपनियों के इंडस्ट्रीज़ के बीच में होने जा रहे हैं, जिनसे कुछ स्पेयर पार्ट्स जो है अब यहाँ पे बन सकेंगे. आने वाले समय में ज़्यादा से ज़्यादा प्लेटफॉर्म अपने देश में बना सकें, ये हम लोग की आने वाले समय के लिए एक प्रयास है.
Earlier on Thursday, Boeing, Hindustan Aeronautics Limited and Mahindra Defence Systems announced a partnership for manufacturing the FA-18 Super Hornet in India. This partnership will not only reduce the cost of Super Hornet fighter aircrafts, but its operating cost will also be lower compared to any other tactical aircraft.
जो गवर्नमेंट की तरफ से पॉलिसी इनिशिएटिव्स हैं, जो पब्लिक सेक्टर को और प्राइवेट सेक्टर को दोनों को बढ़ावा देने के जो प्रयास हैं, उनसे मुझे पूरी उम्मीद है कि आने वाले समय में आप डिफेंस प्रोडक्शन क्षेत्र में MSMEs द्वारा भी और दूसरी कंपनियों द्वारा भी ज़्यादा से ज़्यादा पार्टिसिपेशन देखेंगे.
Boeing's real interest lies in the Indian Air Force's multi-million-dollar deal to procure 110 fighter planes, which was kick-started last week by issuing an RFI or initial tender for the deal. The new deals would pave the way for the transfer of technology, and there would be concerted efforts for more such initiatives. Panchanad Mishra's report for Rajya Sabha TV.
Meanwhile, the DRDO has earmarked 18,000 crore rupees as investment plan for the current fiscal, which includes developing the next generation lighter BrahMos missile. The country's premier defense research institute has allocated about 25 to 30% for developing new projects during the current financial year. Now, BrahMos Aerospace has said that it has a proposal to develop BrahMos next generation missile, which will be termed as BrahMos NG missile. Now, this missile would be lighter than the existing BrahMos and will have almost a similar kind of ranges and would be able to be launched from various platforms. As the missiles would be lighter, BrahMos was also planning to have more launches from submarines, ships and aircrafts. And now all the action from the Commonwealth Games. Boxer MC Mary Kom has created history again at the Commonwealth Games by winning gold in the 48 kg category today by thrashing Northern Ireland's Christina O'Hara. The 35-year-old, a five-time world champion Olympic bronze medalist, was competing in her debut Commonwealth Games, also perhaps her last, and made it a memorable one with yet another dominating performance to claim a unanimous verdict of 5-0. Now, Mary Kom is a five-time world champion and Olympic bronze medalist and has also won the Asian Championship 5 times. She is the only Indian boxer to win a medal at this edition of the Games so far, after Pinky Rani, L. Sarita Devi and Lovlina Borgain failed to reach the medal rounds. And not just boxing, Manika Batra played the game of her life to beat her Singapore challenger in the women's singles semi-finals. She pulled off a thrilling win, beating Tian Wei Feng 12-10, 5-11, 11-8, 5-11, 5-11, 11-9, 13-11. She now plays for gold in the final. And here is a look at the medals table as it stands, at least for now. India has 18 gold medals and it has overtaken the tally from its Glasgow 2014, in which India had won 15 gold medals. The Gold Coast Games are now India's fourth most successful Commonwealth Games after New Delhi 2010, in which India had got 38 gold medals, and Manchester 2002, where India had won 30, and Melbourne 2006, where India had won 22 gold medals. And that's all in this edition of News, but news and updates continue on your channel. Thanks for watching.